Hello there, Rabbi.
Good evening, Joe.
I see you are here in an official capacity.
Indeed, I am.
And I won't ask, but speaking of official capacities and official events, it's time to talk about the slap heard around the world. Because everybody else is, so why should we leave ourselves out of it? And as I am given to understand that you have a perspective on this occurrence. Shall you share it with us?
As you know, Joe, the Torah is divided into portions, and every week we read a section, and when the cycle's complete, we start it again. And yesterday, it was Tazria. Next week, it's Mitzorah. And normally they're a double portion, but it's a leap year, so we split them. They deal with leprosy. Now, as an aside, Scripture isn't talking about Hansen's disease. It uses the Hebrew word for leprosy for any skin disease. And dermatologists have gone through the portions and they've diagnosed everything. So we're going to put that aside. So the portion deals with a contagious or possibly deadly skin disease of all different kinds. And so the rabbis looked at the portion spiritually because the medicine was taken care of. The person would be isolated and washed, and their bedding and clothes may be burned in case it was feared that the skin rash could spread if it was something contagious. So all that was contained. So the rabbis looked at it and said, what is it that this portion teaches us spiritually? And they focused on gossip and telling stories about people, even if something was true, but doing it for a laugh or to be malicious. They said it's like leprosy. And it's very, very harmful because once someone says something, once it goes out there, you can't retract it. And then someone else will pick up on it. Someone else will add to it. And the rabbis emphasize that at someone else's expense, it's not funny. Humor is humor, but not by degrading someone, not by making fun of someone, not by pointing it out. That's not humorous, according to Judaism. That's gossip, and God forbids gossip.
Okay, so it's not a question of whether or not the comment was funny. And Will Smith was actually videotaped laughing at the comment when it was first said. So even he thought it was funny at first. It was his response when he saw his wife being upset about it and his understanding that it was not funny to her that prompted her to react this way. Now, what about his reaction? His physical anger and punishment of Chris Rock. That can't be appropriate, can it?
I wish he would have just thrown down the gauntlet. You know, during the Middle Ages, he would have taken off his glove and thrown it down at Chris Rock's feet, and they would have had jousted or had a duel, as all gentlemen do. And that would have solved. He was protecting, he was being a gentleman. He was protecting his wife. He was being civil while Chris was not.
Not with that language, he wasn't being civil. I must disagree. And I think he was being a little show-offy. But I'm not going to argue that point. What I'm saying is violence is never an excuse. There's no excuse for violence.
No, there is no excuse for violence. No. However, human emotions are such that, and that tells us something about the joke. If the joke evoked someone striking you, there's something wrong with the joke. Not that it justified the hitting, but you have to stop and say, what am I using for humor if it so agitates someone that they slap me? You have to ask that question.
Well, let's go to the second part first and the first part second. Chris Rock did not hit him back. Chris Rock stood there, was a little shocked, and tried to calm him down. So I think his response to the aggression was a lot more intelligent and moderated. Whereas I think Will Smith tried to perpetuate the argument almost daring him to do something else with his verbal tirade. So I give more points to Chris Rock. Now, the other side of that is I have been known to tell a joke, and I am here to say I've seen you try to tell a joke or two on your own many, many times. And we know that timing is an aspect of humor. And there have been many, many occasions when I have been in a situation where a funny thought has occurred to me, and it has leaked out of my mouth and gone out there. And as soon as it's out there and I take a good look at it, I go, oh my gosh, I wish I hadn't have said that.
Which is why the rabbis take the stand against gossip, because once it's out of our mouths, it's like a bullet or an arrow shot. It cannot be recalled. It's like posting on Facebook. It's like posting on Twitter. Can't take it back. It's now out there. You know, Joe, I'd remind you of an old Hollywood adage. There's no such thing as bad publicity. There's only publicity. When did this happen? How long ago?
6 days ago, 7 days ago.
It's still on the news. What a great event for both of them, because it fulfills the adage, it's publicity. And it's in front, and everyone is talking, right? Well, people are talking about the two of them, and it's publicity. And remember, there's no such thing as bad publicity. You want to promote yourself. You want to promote your TV show. So Chris responded in a gentlemanly way. Wonderful. Look at all the publicity. Now, Will Smith let his emotion and anger take control, and he acted on emotion. Gee, look at the publicity.
Everybody's thought of that, and everybody's talked about it. And I've heard several intelligent opinions saying it was obviously set up. Yeah. And yes, if Will Smith had only scowled and turned around and left the room, or anything less than marching up on stage and getting into a fist fight on camera, then it would have gone away almost immediately. That's as correct. A bad joke.
That's right.
And Chris Rock's next 3 shows sold out completely.
Exactly. There's no such thing as bad publicity. It's only publicity. And so it's different because they're Hollywood actors and they're in the business of generating publicity. That's what you have to do to stay current or in front or on the front page for as long as possible.
So scandal is what sells papers. Not that anybody's buying newspapers anymore. I noted today in the news and on Facebook, and I shared it on my personal feed, Joe Sutliff, go check it out, that Denzel Washington awarded Samuel L. Jackson a Lifetime Achievement Award for his work in the Academy, and it was not published or was not on the live show. And it was further pointed out that both of them have been married for over 30 years to the same spouse. Both of them are pretty much without scandal. Yes, exactly. So what's the point of showing them on TV? And how are they? And isn't it sad that as role models, they would make excellent ones, but there's no attention given to them. We only pay attention to the fights and to the brawls and the fracases.
The old saying in the newspaper business, when people bought newspapers, dog bites man won't sell a paper. Man bites dog will sell a newspaper. It's just the reality of human beings and their attention span, that we are attracted to violence, to death, to burning buildings, anything, but we're not going to watch, we're not going to check out happy, nice, look at these role models, nature of humans. So if my business is an actor, if I'm in the publicity business, it pays for me to continually divorce my partners, have big scandals, and make the papers. Because if we stay together, I'm not going to get any publicity. And if we were to separate and do it gracefully, then we're not going to get it. So you're dealing with an industry that, look at TikTok, look at Facebook, look at our social media, look at what gets 1 billion hits and look at what gets 1. It's always the outrageous. It's always the showing off something. It's always explosions. It's always exploitation, because people will watch that. And if my goal is to be watched, then I'm going to do that. It's human nature, Joe. And so we got to see it in action. And look, this is going to continue. And the nighttime comedians are going to bring it back. And I would say in 6 months, it's still going to come back or be around. Maybe even a year from now, you can't buy that kind of publicity. They created publicity for both of themselves that no agent could have created for them. And we're discussing something right or wrong. They're actors. It's all, the world is a stage, and we are actors thereupon. And he saw, whether he saw an opportunity or not, Chris Rock saw an opportunity, but they rose to the occasion as if they had practiced and rehearsed it and were ready for that moment. Now they have their publicity.
All right, Rabbi, don't make me come over there and slap you. Thank you as always for your wisdom, but I'm ready. Be on your best behavior, and we'll talk to you again soon.
I'm always on my best behavior because, as I mentioned, the Talmud teaches you don't badmouth or gossip or tell stories about anyone.